Okay. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for joining the September webinar, the Agriculture 4.0 webinar, where we share about emerging technologies that are shaping agriculture, shaping the future of agriculture. It's actually a very great opportunity to have a lot of speakers, industry leaders, pioneers, come speak with us about this technology. And the purpose of having this a webinar like this, Agriculture 4.0 webinar, particularly from the Stable of Precision Feed Academy, is to actually bring you the knowledge, share you the knowledge, and also educate you, and more importantly, expose you, to the reality of future of work. Because the future that you have not seen, you cannot create. We want to bring this to your side. We want to bring this to your understanding. We want to expose you to the future, and so that you can become a player and an influencer using technology to impact your world. We do not only want you to be an observer, we also want you to be somebody who actually create this technology, who can actually impact your society with technology, and who can actually make positive change, with technology in your society. In one of my past TED talk, the Flying Farmer, it's about steering new waters in with technology. And the cruise of the talk was because we as humans cannot change the speed to which technology moves, the way it accelerates, changes over time, the evolution of things, or the revolution, industrial revolution, agricultural revolution, several names you've called them, but we can see that technology keeps changing often and often, and we cannot stop the speed. But what we can actually do is to actually direct the course of technology. How does it impact our lives? And we must not be passive when it comes to technology. And this is why we are here this evening, morning, and afternoon, wherever you are, and listening to us. So, welcome to the September edition of Agriculture 4.0. And with me today, I have um, Violet Ochieng, and she's my very lovely friend from Kenya. She's an amazing and award-winning scientist. She would be actually exposing us to drone-based pest control, and we'll be taking the case of desert locust invasion. That happened sometimes in 2019 in Kenya. It is something of note, and I believe that we want to actually have more people who are prepared for disasters like this, and can be able to direct technology to actually deliver solutions. So join me. So before we start the webinar in full, I would like to actually talk about who actually brought us here. That is Precision Feed Academy, and to actually share a little bit about Precision Feed Academy. Um, let's go. Just a minute. Okay. So, Precision Feed Academy, who are we? What do we do? What are we all about? I'd like you to actually know about us. And so, our vision is basically to create a world where every young person, regardless of your background, can have the opportunity to become a tech savvy farmer or agricultural professional, driving sustainable and equitable growth in your community through the power of transformative technology. This is actually what we are all about. This is vision we want to see come to pass. And our mission is simple and clear: to raise the next generation of farmers that are tech inclined and digitally savvy. So that's all we are all about. So we are actually a social enterprise. We train and we build the capacity of young professionals in modern and emerging technologies for the future of work, and so that you can also lead with precision agriculture. And this is actually the future. So, what are actually our methodology? How are we delivering on this mission? It's just three cardinal methodology. Education and knowledge sharing is one. This is where we actually bring you Agriculture 4.0 is actually one of our means, our initiative, education and knowledge sharing initiative to actually bring you this knowledge, to share you, bring education to you, expose you to these technologies. And the second is training and skill development. To be aware is not enough. Now we want to um, so we want to actually we want to bring this technology to you hands on, so that you can be able to make impact with this technology. So this is actually what we are doing with trainings, and skill development, hands on training, workshop, boot camps. We have a lot in stock. We have a lot of drone trainings. We've provided a lot of trainings around GIS with thousands of students through collaboration and partnership with reputable organizations who align with our vision and mission. And lastly, we are actually providing you with coaching and mentorship. It is not just enough to actually know and to be aware, but it's also good for you to actually know how best you can move, so that you can be able to have clarity on your journey. And this is where coaches come in. This is where mentors come in. And this is actually what we are availing to you. You have that tech solution. You are actually looking at developing your career in agri-tech, solutions across. This is actually an opportunity for you to actually to actually build your capacity through coaching and mentorship that we provide. So these are actually our three cardinal methodology. So, and what are the test skills that we're providing to you? Test skill that we're providing to you, or skills in general. One, it's drone technology. That's unmanned area vehicle and geographic information technology and remote sensing. These are actually technologies that are actually changing the game, that are actually making agriculture smarter and, most importantly, sustainable and attractive, and as Gen Z would say, making agriculture sexy. So we also have data science for agriculture. Data science is also a very important technology, that is actually changing the game. How can we actually get insight, from the multitude of data that we are actually getting, or we can get in agriculture? Robotics and Internet of Things. We also have artificial intelligence and machine learning. And most importantly, we want to actually bring you the skill of enterprise development. It is not enough for us to actually have these solutions without bringing them into the market. So this is actually where we are actually driving the solution to market. How can you actually bring solution to actually make impact? How can you, be it a social enterprise or business enterprise? All we want to see is turning technology, bringing invention, and turning them into innovation that can actually transform our society. And okay, so why do we do what we do? What is our motivation? One, there is a skill gap that we have actually recognized, and we need to close it. Young professionals need to build skills, which is technical and enterprise skills for the future of work in agriculture, like I've explained. And the second motivation is the fact that just observing trend is not enough. Just know the ability to be able to say, oh, agriculture 1.0, 2.0, agriculture revolution, this is what is reigning. You're talking about chat GPT, artificial intelligence is the reigning thing. It's not just enough to just know, what's the reigning thing. But we need to raise youth who are actually enablers and players in the fourth agricultural revolution, and not just mere trend observers. Lastly, our motivation is that technology is key to unlock African agricultural potential. So, if you also have the same vision, you need to join us. You need to actually join our community. You need to actually be part of us. Now, why should you join us? We've actually mentioned why we're doing what we're doing. What's our motivation? Why you should join us? What are the benefits for you? We are creating a future we want. There's a quote I always say by a reputable personality. He says that the best way to predict the future is to create it. So we are actually creating the future that we want for African agriculture. We want you to connect with the information and the world of opportunities. We share scholarships, we share internships, we share volunteering opportunities. Bringing these opportunities closer to you. There's an opportunity that can change your life. We know the power of opportunities, and we always bring this to you in our community. So try to join our community. We bring to you skill development through project collaboration, community interaction, and workshop. You have a project you're working on, questions you would like to actually ask about them. So we bring you this access to coaching and mentorship from industry leaders and professionals. Of course, this is actually an opportunity. You're going to be listening to Violet today. She is a leader and award-winning researcher when it comes to the use of drone technology for pest management. She's a reputable entomologist. So I'm not sure if you've heard of that before, but entomologist, she will explain that. So she is an industry leader, and much respect to her. Yeah. Thank you so much for listening. And just let me remind you, Precision Feed Academy, we are actually building a community of young, tech-inclined, and digitally savvy farmers. So if you can just read something just behind me there, you see, become a tech-oriented farmer today. That's why we are here. So sit back, relax, and let us go into the business of the day as I welcome Violet. Violet, you are most welcome. So you can take the floor. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Femi, for the opportunity and also for organizing this awesome event or even the seminar so that we can come together and discuss.
Swarm, nothing ever prepares you in life for such a thing. These are million.
Sorry?
Yeah, apologies for that. You can quickly please let me just play the video before you go
Okay.
ahead. Is that fine?
Okay, no problem. Okay.
All right. So let's, guys, you'll be happy to actually see this video, opening you up to what Violet is doing and how she can begin to, raise your curiosity and turn you into a trailblazer. All right.
To be in the middle of a swarm, nothing ever prepares you in life for such a thing. These are million flying insects that are going past you. And that's when it hit me about the scale of the problem we had and the scale of the solution that was needed with our partners so that we can effectively come up with a solution that works and works best for Africa.
When the drone comes in to complement the existing method, this will be an advantage to the farmers.
And they've specifically been designed to be operated in very tough terrain and access very inaccessible areas that other systems cannot be able to reach.
This has been my dream to work on how the technologies can be used to control pests. Going hungry will never be a story in Kenya in some years to come.
The drone is about to take off. Please keep your distance. Take off.
Woo! That's amazing. That's amazing. That's amazing. Guys, can you see that? Can you see that? Okay, so I will just leave the floor open to Violet to go ahead with our presentation today. And I'm just blown away. Violet, you have the floor, please.
Oh, thank you so much, Femi. So, hi everyone. This is Violet Ochieng from Kenya. I work for CABI. CABI is Center for Agriculture and Bioscience International. And our main objective at CABI is to improve lives of people through doing research that can improve agriculture and environment. So Violet is a drone pilot. I am an environmental scientist, and I'm also an agricultural entomologist. So today I'll be presenting or we'll be discussing how drone technology can be used to increase or even to improve pest management and I'll be giving a story or even the experience that we had with desert locust in Kenya. So I know most of the people are asking themselves, what is desert locust? Why locust? Why did you decide to work on desert locust and so and so? I know you have several questions, but don't worry. At the end of this presentation, you're going to understand why we did our experiment with desert locust. So desert locust is the most destructive migratory pest, and it was listed by the FAO as the main pest that is really destructive. They can migrate from one continent to another, and they usually found in desert areas just from the name desert locust. So they prefer areas that are so hot and dry, and there are places called recession areas. So these recession areas are the areas where locusts are found yearly from January to December. But you'll find that when the conditions becomes favorable in those areas, the locusts are able to multiply in large number, then they start moving from the recession areas to the invasion areas. So invasion areas are the areas where locusts are not found there naturally, but locusts can move there when the conditions become favorable. So locusts have different phases. We have solitarious phase and gregarious phase. So in the recession areas where they are found naturally from January to December, they are usually found in solitarious condition or even phase where they appear as individual. But when conditions become favorable, when they start multiplying, they start aggregating together, then they become, they change from solitarious phase to gregarious phase. And it is in this phase that the outbreak starts to occur. Then when the outbreak is not well controlled, the locust population continue to build up, then it develops to upsurge. When the upsurge is not well controlled, then the upsurge build up to plagues. So for example, during the recent invasion that occurred from 2019 to 2022, there is an unusual cyclone that occurred in empty quarter of Arabian Peninsula. The cyclones brought good conditions in those areas, and being that those areas are desert, the rainfall brought good conditions for vegetation to start growing. Then, of course, locusts, they found good food, they started to multiply. When the conditions started to dry out in those areas, locusts, they had no other option but to start migrating to other areas to look for good or even suitable breeding conditions. So during that process, they were migrating to areas, for example, in Yemen, where security is also a problem. So most of the locust swarms were not properly managed in those particular areas, because you'll find that most of those areas were either unsafe for people to reach there to do the surveillance or spraying, or some of the areas were inaccessible. Yeah, so it is through that the swarms build up. They migrated from Yemen to Ethiopia, to Sudan, to Kenya, and even other parts like Uganda and Tanzania. So during that process, locusts were migrating. They were causing so much destruction because one locust each locust can eat their own weight per day. One swarm that contain maybe from 40 to 80 million can eat the same food as 35,000 people in a day. So you can imagine how this pest is so destructive, and it can threat food security. Yeah, so that's why it's usually it's important that it's managed as early as possible. And it's also important to come up with technologies that can be used to improve the existing methods for desert locust management. So there are existing methods for desert locust management. And for example, before you decide on the type of method that you want to use to spray the chemical on locust, the first step that is usually done is surveillance. So under surveillance, we have two types. We have site surveillance and assessment surveillance. So assessment surveillance is where I've said that the locusts are found in desert areas. So for example, when you go to the desert areas and you find green vegetation, that will show the likeliness of locusts to occur in those areas, because it's surely difficult to get green vegetation in desert areas. So when they are there, that means locusts are likely to multiply. They're likely to increase in numbers. So the first step for surveillance, which is assessment, usually help to generate information so that information can be used to do the search surveillance. Such surveillance is whereby you now do a detailed surveillance you want to know which stage of locust is here. It covers what area, so that that information can be used with the control team to decide on the method they can employ for spraying. Because we have several methods for spraying also, we have vehicles, we have aircraft, and also we have people working with handheld sprayers. So these methods will be used depending on the size of the area that is covered by the locust. When the infestation occur in a small number, then the team may decide to use just the knapsack sprayers where people work with palms. If the infestation occurs in a bigger area, then they may choose to use vehicles, also depending on if the area is accessible or not. If the infestation covers a big area that is not accessible to the most methods such as vehicles and people working with handheld sprayers, they may decide to use the aircraft. So currently we have 3 main methods for desert locust management. We have vehicles, we have people working with handheld sprayers, and we have aircraft. And for the surveillance, this is done also by people just working in the field doing the food surveillance, people working with people going around with vehicles. They can also use a helicopter to do the surveillance. And another one is using satellites, where they use satellites imagery. Then this imagery are analyzed to produce the weather data and also information on availability or the likeliness of vegetation to be present in desert areas. So all these methods were used successfully during the recent invasion of locust, but they presented some challenges. And that's why we came in to test drone technology so that we can see how it can be used to improve or even to complement the existing methods. So being that drone technology it's a new technology, and by then it has never been reported for the management of locust. So we didn't know the key parameters that people should maintain when you want to use a drone for surveillance. We didn't know the key parameter that you should maintain when you want to use the drone for spraying pesticides. And that's why we decided to do this experiment to test the effectiveness, or even to pilot how a drone technology can be used to fill the gaps that were presented with the recent desert locust management options. So other challenges that we experienced, so for example, with vehicles, you could find that they have said desert locusts are found in areas that are inaccessible. And you could find that some of the areas were too rocky, too sandy, people could not access. And also while spraying with aircraft, most of the chemical could go to areas, to unwanted areas or untargeted areas. And this is so serious, especially when it comes to contamination of environment, and also or even destroying untarget organisms. So for example, you are spraying the locust and the chemical may go to areas, for example, lakes, rivers, or even the people's homesteads, people's crops. So we wanted to avoid this by introducing a new technology and also testing its efficiency first. So that's why we did this experiment. So objectives were so clear. First, to come up with parameters for surveillance, and 2, to come up with parameters for spraying, because by then they were not there and they have never been studied. So in our first objective, because the idea was just to know, can a drone really be used to survey desert locust? And if it's a yes, then what are the key parameters that people should maintain so that you ensure that at the end of the day, you are doing your search surveillance, you are doing your assessment surveillance in a way that will inform, that will produce the key informations that are required for the control. So in this experiment, we launched the drone to do mapping or even to take the images of locusts at different heights. And we tested 5 heights, 30, 50, 70, 90, and 110 meters above the ground. And at every height, some of the parameters kept on changing. That was the flight height, flight time, number of photos that were being captured, number of waypoints. These are the lines where the drone is passing through while collecting data. Then the resolution, of course, the clarity of the images, and also the flight length. So we realized that when you are mapping at lower height, the drone will take more time, will tend to capture more photos, will pass through several lines, but will take very detailed images. when you are mapping at very high height, the drone will take less time, will capture less images, will pass through less lines or even few lines, but the images will not be so clear. So this information can be used for surveillance of locusts. For example, like I've just said, we have such surveillance and we have assessment surveillance. For the assessment, we just want to know, how is the area looking like? Are there green vegetation around? What is the size of that area? What are the maybe environmental parameters, or what are the kind of vegetation that is around those areas? So because we are not interested in this stage to get the detailed information, we just want to know how the area looks like. So in that case, we can launch the drone at 110 meters, because it will it will take less time to fly. It will just capture a few images that will take less time to analyze. And at the same time, we'll be able to cover large area. Yeah. And after getting that information, we can now launch the drone at 30 meters to do the search surveillance. At 30 meters, the drone will be able to get the detailed information. We'll be able to know the locust itself, the stage, maybe the size that has been covered by the locust or infested. And from that information, we'll be able to know, or even to make a decision on which method that can be used for spraying. So this is the finding that we got for the surveillance, that if you want to get the detailed information, then you better fly it at lower heights. And when you want just to know how the area looks like, then you should fly it at a very high height to save time. Then the images that were taken, we also analyzed, and we just wanted to test the clarity at different heights, so that by the time you are saying that when you map at lower height, you can do such surveillance at lower height, at least you know why you are saying that. So the images that were taken at different heights were analyzed. They were stitched together with the software known as Agisoft. Then after stitching them together, we were able to zoom in the same area where the locust was spread, and those areas were compared at different heights. And from the image, you can see that at very low height, they are so clear, and you can really see locust and the ground and everything in the background. But at very high height, the last image, you can see that it's too blurry, and you cannot see clearly what is in the background. So for spraying, because when we are spraying, we are dealing with the chemical. So at the end of the day, we should be very careful. Even if it's a technology, then we should be very, very careful. We should ensure that the drone is releasing the required volume application rate, and the chemical that is being sprayed, the best quantity is being delivered as required, or even as recommended by the manufacturer of the pesticide. And because by then we didn't have these parameters, we had also to test the key parameters for spraying metarhizium on desert locust. So we chose metarhizium because at Kabi we basically focus on biological control of pests, and metarhizium is a biological way of controlling pests, because it is a fungi that is just specific to locust only. It is safe to environment. It can't affect other insects. So that's why we decided to use metarhizium, so that we can get an overview on how the droplets will spread on the ground when the drone is used to do the spraying. So we arranged some white papers on the ground, and also, after that, we loaded the ink, the black ink, on the drone. Then we launched the drone at different heights to do the spraying of the black ink. We were able to see the black droplets of the ink on the paper, and this was able to give us indication on how the chemical would spread, or even would deposit on the ground when the actual spraying is being done. So after spraying the ink on the white paper, the papers were analyzed. We have a software known as the drop leaf. The drop leaf was able to count for us the number of drops per paper. Then after counting all those drops, we were able to come up with the mean droplet density of at different heights, and these were compared. From the findings, the lower heights, droplet density was so much at the lower height, and as the height increases, the droplets were reducing. So this means that when you are spraying at very low height, there are chances that you may end up overspraying that area. And if you are using a synthetic pesticide that is so toxic, you may end up contaminating that area. And again, when you are spraying at very high height, according to our results, the pesticide being released, the droplets were so less. So this means that you may also end up underspraying that area. And there's a problem when you underspray an area because the pests may tend to develop resistance, which we also don't want. So that's why it was so important to come up with the optimum height that will release or that will produce the required volume application rate recommended for desert locust. So for the metarhizium, it's usually sprayed as a ULV, ultra low volume. And we are going for that, the technology of ultra low volume, because as I said, the desert locusts are found in desert areas. Now, getting large quantity of water to mix these other pesticides, the emulsifiable concentrate pesticides, is surely difficult. And that's why the ULV technology was developed, so that the pesticide is just sprayed the way it is supplied by the manufacturer. You don't have to formulate it with water. So most of them, you'll find that you just maybe you spray it the way it is, or for example, in the case of metarhizium, because it is in spore form, we formulated it using diesel. It's just small amount of diesel. Then it was loaded on the drone after spraying, because we know that according to the recommendation, only 1 liter of this metarhizium should be applied in 1 hectare. So because we have that information, being that 1 liter should be applied in 1 hectare, we needed to, and in that 1 liter, only 50 to 100 millimeter of droplet sizes should be sprayed on that area. So for us, we worked with the average size of those droplets, which is 50 plus 100 divided by 2, and we came up with 75. Yeah. So in that 75, we wanted to know what is the volume of each drop. And because we know that the volume of every drop is 4/3 per year cube, we used that to do the calculation. Then we wanted to know in 1 liter, how many drops are in this 1 liter that is recommended for metarhizium application. So after doing that calculation, we found that in 1 hectare, actually 45 droplets per centimeter square should be applied. That is when you're using metarhizium. Then we compared these calculated droplets, we compared it with the droplets that we had counted that was sprayed during when we were spraying the ink. So, and from the results, you can see that at 2.5, the droplets were 152.5, which is way too much compared to the calculated droplets density that we calculated, which was 45. At 12.5 meters, which was the highest, the droplets density was 28.3. This is very low compared to 45. And this is what I was saying. If you spray at 2.5 meters, you're likely to overspray that area, and you can end up contaminating the area. You will lose a lot of pesticide, and this will be costly to a farmer and also to the people who are responsible for financing the management of that particular pest. So in our study, we came up with the optimum height of 10 meters, and at 10 meters, the droplets were 48.2, which was not far from the calculated value, which was 45. So that's how we came up with the optimum height. We also wanted to confirm, because the other experiment, the first experiment that I've just explained was just on ink. We wanted to know how ink will deposit on the papers. So we also needed to confirm with the actual pesticide and also with the actual locust. And because at that time we were rearing our locust, we put the locust in the cages. These cages had wire mesh. They were made of wire mesh, and this one, there were spaces where the pesticide can penetrate into the locust that were put in the cages. These cages were put outside. They were arranged in a particular manner, in a systematic manner. Then the drone was launched. The drone was launched to spray the biopesticide, that is metarhizium, on these cages. Then because it's a biopesticide, it can't act on the insect immediately. It takes around 21 days to kill the pest completely, but it starts acting on the insect after around 5 to 7 days of application. So it takes time to kill the insect, but you'll find that after the 5th day of application, the insects start to become weak, and their behavior also starts to change. They don't feed, they become sick, they become weak. So even in the field, if you apply it when in the field, the chances are they will not eat as much as they could have eaten when they are not sprayed. So after spraying this, because it takes time to act on the insect, we had to monitor the mortality rate in the laboratory for some time, that is for 21 days. Then after that, we did some calculation. We compared the mortality rate at different heights, 2.5, 5 meters, 7 meters, 10 meters, and 12.5 meters. And from the images, you can see that after spraying most of the locust that was sprayed, they turned red. And this red is an indication that they were infected with the metarhizium, or even the fungi. Then after that, we also wanted to confirm, is mortality, is it as a result of the infection, or maybe there's another thing that might have caused the mortality? So we went ahead, we incubated the locust, the dead locust, their cadavers. Then after we did that, we saw some spores on their surfaces, and this showed that mortality was actually as a result of the fungi that was sprayed. We also wanted to confirm how drone is unique, or how is it different from other existing methods. So the first picture, as you can see, this is a valley in Kenya. It's called Suguta Valley. It's a valley that it was even difficult for aircraft to spray these particular areas during the recent locust invasion. And most of there were some swamps that were going to Suguta Valley, and many people could not go there to do the spraying. So they could wait for the locusts to move from this Suguta Valley to other areas which are a bit accessible, so that they can do the management. But with drone, when we tested how it's different from the existing methods, it was launched in this valley, and it did some spraying, and it was successful. So this shows that with the drone, it can go to areas that existing methods could not even reach. This valley, of course, people working with handheld sprayers cannot go to do the spraying, because there's nowhere they can go through the valley. Also, vehicles cannot reach this particular area, and drone was able to reach, and it shows how drone is unique. The lower picture, this is a forest, a thick forest that, of course, vehicles cannot reach. People working with the handheld sprayers cannot reach. Only aircraft can reach, but aircraft are also expensive. So sometimes when the infestation occurs in a small area but inaccessible, it's so costly to hire an aircraft to do the spraying. So drone can come in to complement that by being able to offer the services and do this particular work in areas that are forested, areas that other methods cannot reach, areas that will be too expensive to hire an aircraft to do. The last picture is showing how drone can do spot or specific application of pesticide. This is a tree, and sometimes in the field we could realize that when the locusts are settling on the ground or on top of trees, they were settling on top of specific trees. So you can find that maybe in the whole of this area, they only settle on top of this tree only. So with the drone, you can actually launch a drone, then you command it to go to only on top of this specific tree. You open the nozzles, drone, you command it to do the application of pesticide. Then after that, you close the nozzles, then you bring it home. With this, it saves time, one. Two, it also prevents the contamination of untarget areas or untarget trees where locusts are, the trees that have not been infested with locust. And at the same time, you are just doing specific spraying or spot application of pesticide, which saves a lot of time. We also went ahead because it was a new technology. We wanted also to hear the views of people. So we went to different communities who saw the locust, who saw the existing methods of locust surveillance and management. We were able to do some questionnaires. We were able to demonstrate, to create awareness, to educate them. And also we gave them opportunity to compare the drone and also with the existing methods. We were also able to meet some kids, the young children. We demonstrated the drone to them. They were also able to tell us what they think about the technology, how it's different from the existing methods based on what they saw during the recent locust invasion. So some of the challenges that we experienced during this project is we did it when there was COVID also. Locust came when the COVID was already in the country. So it was so difficult for us sometimes to travel to the field because of the lockdown. And also at that time, by the time that the project was picking up, that's when the locusts were controlled successfully in the country. So we didn't have actual swarms in the country. But outside the box, we came up with the ideas of rearing our own locusts in the laboratory, doing our own experiment for surveillance, for spraying, for rearing. Then we put them in the field, in the cages, we spray. So that was just an idea that we came up with after the control was done successfully in the country, and we wanted to meet an objective. So the finding from these studies showed that the drone can improve the timeliness management of locust, can improve the reporting of locust, can improve the, can also improve the existing methods that are used for early warning, for reporting the presence, absence of locust in the field. And at the same time, drone can also be used to improve the spraying of pesticides on the locust. So the finding from this study can be used as a baseline for the management of other priority pests, because I understand that locust is not found in most countries, but most of these countries have problems with other priority pests. Yeah, so we can use the experience we had from the locust. We can use this information, we can use these findings to help us improve on the management of other pests, which are also important. For example, fall armyworm, Tuta absoluta, among others. So in this work, we published one paper, and another paper is under review, and we are hoping that it will be published before the end of October. So from the experience that I had on drone for the management of locust, there are potential of drones that can be for the improvement of agriculture in terms of seeding. So there are some of the drones that are already in the market, and they can be used for planting seeds. So instead of using the traditional method of planting seeds, drones can be used to complement the existing methods by planting seeds accurately and precisely. Drones can also be used to do mapping, because we understand that agriculture is the backbone of most of the African economies, and most of the people are doing agriculture. We really have potential, we have fertile soils, and we have problems when it comes to pests and diseases. So if we have a technology that can identify disease, can identify the pest at an early stage, before the damage can be seen by the naked eye, then it's an advantage, because farmers will be able to, their crops will be able to be sprayed at an early stage, and this will prevent a lot of damages. So drone has a lot of potential when it comes to mapping, when it comes to early identification of these problems, and this will improve food security, will improve agriculture. And apart from just using it to map or even to identify diseases in agriculture, it can also be used to manage to conserve environment. For example, monitoring forests. Maybe one is doing afforestation. Maybe you want to monitor the people cutting trees in a certain forest, plant cover, forest cover, all those you can use. You can actually use a drone to keep track of those. You can also use a drone to monitor water levels. You can use a drone to monitor maybe floods. When floods is happening to certain areas, places that you cannot reach, you can send a drone to get that information. Droughts also, you can get all those information using a drone in terms of mapping. So drones can also be used to release some of the control agents. Just for example, in entomology, we have what is called parasitoids, where we use other insects to manage the population of other pests. So normally the existing methods that are currently used is you rear the parasitoids in large number in the laboratory. You go to the lab, you release them through traditional methods, and it's so tiresome. So with drones, you can, after rearing, you can put your insects on the drone, then you go to the field, you launch the drone, then you release them in different areas that you want them to be. And these areas, sometimes they might be inaccessible. Maybe you want to release them in a forest, in a cropland that maybe it's too big for you to walk throughout, or even in areas you want to save time. So drone is coming in to do that, to release the natural enemies for pest control. Drones, like I've said with the locust, it's also coming in to apply the control agents, the pesticides, precisely. So this is coming in to do the specific application of pesticides. It's reducing drift where chemicals are, maybe the chemical is moving from the targeted areas that you want them to be to untargeted areas, because most of these untargeted areas are maybe they are homesteads of people, maybe they are areas, they are conservancies, maybe water bodies where we don't want chemicals to get there. So with the drones, you can actually control it. You can spray it at the height that you want, and this will prevent the drift where chemical is moving to untarget area. So in public health, drone can also be used for surveillance of these vector-borne, for example, mosquitoes. The places where the mosquitoes are likely to occur, drone can be used successfully to do that. Then also delivery of medicine. Like for example, in Kenya, we have an organization, a drone company that was given that mandate to, they're given a license to deliver drugs and medicine using a drone. So I've come to the end of my presentation, and this project was funded by the UKAID, FCDO, UK's Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office through the Frontier Technologies Hub. And it was a partnership between CABI, Center for Agriculture and Bioscience International, and CABI partnered with Astral Aerial, which is the drone company that we partnered with in Kenya. So thank you so much for listening to my presentation. Now welcoming any comment, any question. And if you don't mind, for those who came late, I can play the video for you so that you have an overview of what we did in Kenya, the experiment, the locust, the technologies, the
Swarm, nothing ever prepares you in life for such a thing. These are million flying insects that are going past you. And that's when it hit me about the scale of the problem we had and the scale of the solution that was needed with our partners so that we can effectively come up with a solution that works and works best for Africa.
When the drone comes in to complement the existing method, this will be an advantage to the farmers.
And they've specifically been designed to be operated in very tough terrain and access very inaccessible areas that other systems cannot be able to reach.
This has been my dream, to work on how the technologies can be used to control pests. Going hungry will never be a story in Kenya in some years to come.
The drone is about to take off. Please keep your distance. Take off.
Woo! Guys, are you super excited? Yeah. I've just, I mean, I've been using drone technology, but you know the thrill when you have, another person with a fresh perspective, with deep insight from experience, practical experience, and actually solving a problem, real problem. I'm super excited to and honored to actually have Violet actually speak to us today at the September edition of the Agriculture 4.0 webinar from the Stable of Precision Feed Academy. Yeah, it's super amazing. Super amazing. Thank you so much, Violet. So we have a lot of questions for you, and I know you have limited time. So we have about 10 minutes thereabouts to actually tackle these questions. But you can just be as fast as possible. And again, we want to say thank you. So Teresa, you want to actually scan through the questions and just pop them in one after the other. So I will just look, if possible, I will put them on the screen as fast as possible. She would actually, okay, I guess this question has been answered if you actually paid attention. Violet, can Teresa, can you read it out, and so that Violet can go on?
All right. So the question is from Sadatu. I don't know if I've mentioned your name correctly, but
Yeah. Please go ahead.
yeah, Sadatu Yusuf, and he's asking that is there any method to control desert locust apart from chemical method?
Yep. Okay.
Actually,
Please go ahead. Yeah.
yeah. So for desert locust, yeah, the chemical method is the main one where we use the synthetic pesticides. We have organophosphates, we have carbamates, we have pyrethroids. But because of the environmental concern, where many people, according to most of the research, it was found that most of these synthetic pesticides are harmful to environment, harmful to beneficial insects, harmful to human health, and that's why the people started, there was this development of metarhizium, which is a biological way of controlling locusts. It's a novacrid and it's a metarhizium, it's a fungi that is just specific to locust only. So when you spray it, you cannot kill other insects, you cannot kill other organisms, and it's also safe to the person who is doing the spraying. So currently we only have the synthetic pesticides, and also we have the biological pesticides. But we are trying to reduce the use of synthetic pesticide because of the concern of the environment and its impacts. Thank you.
All right. So let's go to this question.
All right. So our question is from Jangongo Obara. He also spoke on one of the webinars. He used to be our guest speaker. So he's asking that in terms of percentage, how much crop were you able to save from the drone spraying versus manual operations?
Jagongo, for your question. So we didn't really do our project in the field to manage the locust. We were doing a kind of experiment, because when the drone came in, when we started thinking about the drone, we wanted to test its effectiveness. Can it really be used to complement the existing methods? Can it really be used to survey the locust? Can it really be used to spray the locust? But at that time, we could not just go to the field and start operation, because we didn't know the standard of operating procedures for locust spraying and surveillance. And that's what we did. So our project was basically to establish those key parameters so that during the next invasion, when someone wants to use the drone technology for surveillance and control, they can be able to borrow from our findings. And at the same time, in the recession area where the locusts occur annually from January to December, then our findings can be used in those areas to do the surveillance and also to do the spraying. So we didn't really, we were not able to compare, like go to the field and compare the crops that we were able to save. The main objective was to test the efficiency or even effectiveness and to pilot the project. I don't know if you are answered, but I mean.
Yeah. That was clear. Okay, so let's move to the next question.
Okay, so the next question so happens to be from me. But yeah, I wanted to ask, like, how far could it, like, the drone fly over the river, like, to spray, and how long was it in the air?
And the drone go across the river to spray. So this will depend on the height that you want to use. For example, if you have these key areas such as rivers, homestead, water bodies, lakes, etc., you should be using lower height so that it will prevent the drift from moving from where you are spraying to the river. So how far will depend on, how far, like you mean from where you are the drone operator. So no, you want to know the distance that the drone will move from where you are, or you want to know the height that you will maintain the drone. Please
Okay,
be
so
clear.
you said that the river would, like, the drone was able to reach places where maybe other vehicles could not reach, right? So I was talking that from where you're standing as the drone pilot, where the drone is taking off, to going past the river, to now spraying where you want it to spray, how far was it?
That will
Sorry.
be my hello. I'm asking, when you are spraying and the locust, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
When you are spraying, you mean you are spraying and you are spraying the locusts which are on the other part, on the other side. Then there is a
Yes,
river
yes,
between you.
yes.
So I mean, how far it will depend on where you want to spray and how you want to spray. For example, if the river is, it will also depend on the length of the river or even how wide is that river. Because I believe that from where you are to where the drone is going, it can go as much as maybe even above 18 kilometers, but it depends. There is what we call visual line of sight. So if it goes further from you, then you'll not be able to see it, because you should launch the drone. You should operate the drone in the within the area that you are able to see, that you are able to control. So if it moves very far from you, then you'll be able to lose it and it may lead to crash. So if you have a river, maybe a river nearby, the drone is offering the benefits in that you'll not be able to have drifts where the chemical will be moving from where you want them to drop in, to drop on to the untarget area, which is the river. So you as a drone pilot, you should be able to know the area that you want to spray. What are the key areas? Where do you want this pesticide to drop on, so that you can come up with the specific height that you want to maintain, and also be able to know how far you want to, where you want to stand and where you want to spray, how that length will be, and the length of the river, how wide the river is. So all those things you'll be able to, as a drone pilot, you'll be able to put all of them down. Then you'll be able to consider what are the key parameters. How do you want to maintain this, so that at the end of the day, you are able to get or even to answer all your questions. Then, and also, how long does the drone stay in the air? This also depends on the type of the drone. Some can stay 25 minutes, 35 minutes, but currently there are new RTK drones that are developed, and they can stay up to 45 minutes.
Okay, yeah, that answers the question. I thank you so much, Violet. And yeah, so we have one more question, and which is, how about solving Africa's biggest pest, aka the mosquito who is responsible for the deadly malaria? Can this spraying work? That's an interesting question. I'd like you to attend to that.
Yeah, this technology, yeah, it's possible. And in fact, a lot of people have already started using a drone, first to identify those areas that mosquitoes are likely to occur, the swampy areas. And at the same time, you are able to launch the drone to just to spray those particular areas, the, the standing water where the mosquitoes are likely to reproducing.
Okay, yeah. I actually know about a lot of research work that has actually been going when it comes to malaria control. One of which is in Malawi, spearheaded by DJI and some other companies or research institutes. So amazing work. Yeah, Jagongo, I believe you can actually be able to read more about that on the internet.
Drone company. They are called Astral Aerial. They partnered with the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Health, and they were able to identify those areas in a county known as Busia. They were able to identify the areas and do the spraying successfully. So yes,
Yeah.
it can be used to manage mosquitoes.
Yeah, there's also another company in Rwanda called Caris. They are also working with their Ministry of Health to actually expedite malaria control with drone technology. And hopefully we at Integrated Air Precision here in Nigeria, we can be able to get a collaboration with our government, fighting malaria. But we have a lot of work to do. And that's why we are actually here. So guys, thank you so much for actually joining us today. It's been an amazing 1 hour. It's been an amazing 1 hour listening, learning. And the goal of this is to actually endear you, bring you closer to emerging technologies that are actually changing the game and turn you into an influencer and player, like Violet, like the Flying Farmer, like Teresa, like Jagogo, who are actually changing the game and actually creating the future to which they predict, the future they have actually envisioned. So, yeah. So, guys, we believe in the transformative power of of technology generally, and we want you to begin to lead with them. And thank you so much again to our guest speaker, that's Violet Oche. We really appreciate, and we. I wish that we can actually stay long on this call to have a lot of questions, but you have to go to the field now. As it is, she's actually dedicated this time, to actually speak with us. But the last word from you, Violet.
Are there other questions?
Ooh, are there other questions? Okay, so let's check that out. Okay, so let me ask this question. If you like, okay, let me ask you this question. And I would say, how will you advise somebody who is young, a young female who is like, wow, I love what you're doing. I want to be like you. I want to be the career as an entomologist who is actually using technology, or as a soil scientist, or or outside of agriculture, who is interested or is endeared into agriculture with this technology. What do you advise them to do, yeah.
Wow. So first of all, I'd like to say that agriculture is an interesting sector. It's a field that it's the backbone. Yeah. So I'd say that I know most of the youths, they regard agriculture as a dirty field, dirty job. And especially when it comes to ladies, most of the people fear agriculture. And I'd say that it has a lot of opportunities. So first of all, you must have passion. You must love what you are doing. And that's why we are coming in with technology, so that we can ensure that we are going to encourage youths, we are going to encourage people that actually agriculture is not that boring the way people are thinking. Agriculture is so interesting. When you combine technologies, not even drone only, there are different technologies that youths can use, that we can integrate together with drone, that we can use to improve the sector of agriculture and food security. Youths, I just want to encourage you that you're young, and we should be the lead. We should take the lead when it comes to how to change the world, how to change the sector, how to change the environment, and how to change your country. So be the lead. Don't look for anyone to come and push you. Just take the lead, have the passion. Just know that you have all the powers. And this field, the drone field, is so interesting. When you are a drone pilot, you'll be able to get more opportunities. You can have your own company where you train other people. If you are passionate like me, to mentor, to inspire other people, young generation, you can actually have a company, have your own drones, train people, mentor people. You can do services to farmers. At the same time, you can also partner with several organizations, do projects, do consultancy. So I mean, there are a lot of opportunities. Yeah, there are a lot of opportunities out here waiting for us as youths, just to take charge, to take the lead, and to take a step. Yeah.
That's a key word, and I think that will be your pattern word. Said, take the lead, take charge, and make impact. So you're not too small to actually make impact. You are not too young to actually make impact.
Exactly.
The word is in your hands, and we live in a world of technology where we are actually the lead. When it comes to technology, it's in our hands. We can wear it the way we want. We are actually technology benders, young guys. So, and this is what we are all about at Precision Feed Academy. Bringing you role models, bringing you with information, bringing you with the skill, development opportunities, and the community to actually grow these interest in you. So thank you so much for this opportunity, Violet. I am so grateful. Precision Feed Academy community, we are so grateful to have you. And I mean, some of the people who missed this will be able to watch it again because it is actually recorded on YouTube. And good. Thank you so much. Teresa, you have a last word for us before we wrap up.
All right. I just want to say thank you so much to Violet. And it's been an amazing session and so much to learn, and to see this coming from a young lady like you. It's something wonderful and very encouraging. And continue doing the amazing things that you're doing. Continue just impacting the world in this way. It's very beautiful to see that You know, you're saving a lot of lives and you're feeding a lot of people indirectly. And it's just wonderful. So thank you so much for what you do and keep on doing that. And we're so happy that you were here with us and you taught us so much. So thank you so much.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for joining in, and do not forget to actually follow us on all our social media platforms, Precision Feed Academy on Instagram and on Twitter, Precision Feed underscore, on Facebook and LinkedIn. We are actually Precision Feed Academy. Type in there, follow us so that you don't miss any update. And most importantly, on those social media, go to their bio. You'll be able to see a form to actually fill, and you have access into our community. We are almost 1,000 in our community, where we actually share information, information that can grow you, build your training, skill development, education, knowledge sharing, mentorship, and coaching. You have access to the Flying Farmer. You have access to many other experts in the industry in our community. So thank you so much, guys. We really appreciate. So as we wrap up this edition, see you next month.